prog, and everything in between. If you're into rock, you've come to the right place. Welcome to this episode of Talkin' Rock with Meltdown. Don't forget to follow the audio-only Talkin' Rock podcast on all podcast platforms. And now, it's time for today's conversation. Here's Meltdown.
Well, good to see you, Eric.
Good to see you too.
Appreciate your time. You know, normally when I interview guys, I like to dive into my album collection, and I like to put something on a turntable to kind of get me in the mood. So I pulled this one out today. Look at that.
Oh, look at that. First of all, some people call that a mullet, but I call that a Bono. And I look very Asian there. I do. I everybody always says that too. When I was growing up, when I was a little kid, I had like almond eyes, and everybody thought I was like from Asia. My brother's I'm all over the place because I'm a little tired, and that's my best attribute right there. Really tired, and I'll tell you anything you want to know. It's like true serum.
Okay.
So yeah, my brother and sister were born in Taiwan. They're not Taiwanese. My father was in the army. But yeah, I mean, when we were little kids, and they thought they were all Asian kids. But anyway, yeah, that album. What a weird. That's a weird in sleeve.
1985 is this is.
Yeah, that was right outside of a newspaper magazine from LA called LA Weekly. It's like right out in front of the store.
Okay.
And I didn't have any clothes as usual. And one of the grips, who was assisting the cameraman, I go, "Hey, that's a cool coat. Can I wear that coat?" Pretty much it. Yeah.
Man, I can't believe you remember all that stuff for that record. But then it wasn't that long after that record that you joined Mr. Big, and I was thinking to myself on the way here, give me a brief synopsis of where you run into to Billy and everybody. How does that start?
So this record, I think this record came out in 1987.
Okay.
And man, it's a good record, really good record.
Yeah.
But I was produced by this guy, Danny Kortchmar, and from, he was in James Taylor's Flying Machine. He produced Don Henley's Building the Perfect Beast. Very famous guitar player, played with Jackson Browne on like all the hits and stuff. But Danny Kortchmar and Greg Ladani, the two guys produced it, and they produced Building the Perfect Beast in the studio next door. So when Don Henley would go home, the whole band, all these star session players, came over to my studio and ate me out of house and home. As far as I was like, yeah, you could buy sushi and order champagne. I didn't realize that I had to pay for it because I was such a bumpkin back in the day. But it was, I wrote songs with Danny Kortchmar wrote that song, All She Wants to Do Is Dance.
Mm-hmm.
And even a couple of the songs on my record sound like All She Wants to Do Is Dance.
Well, you're going to think I'm lying, but after I took that record off, I put on Building the Perfect Beast because I thought this sounds like something I actually put it on. That's
totally
exactly true story.
Totally. So, yeah, that's another something came into my head too. Randy Jackson, from American Idol and his Journey. He played bass on that record too, and he used to go, totally, Pat, totally. I go, this is a great song, totally. Everybody was so positive and great, but yeah, they were the stars of the record. I was not. I sang good or sung good, and I wrote some good songs, but they were all the stars. So I would say the following year, I got a phone call from a good friend of mine named Mike Varney, and he discovered all the great guitar players like Paul Gilbert and Richie Kotzen, and had a lot to do with a lot of great guitar players' career. And he had a record label called Shrapnel. I knew him since I was 18 years old. We used to play him, at gigs together in San Francisco. Anyway, he said, "Hey, what are you doing?" And I go, "Well, I just got dropped by Capitol Records. I went on a little tour with Eddie Money, came home, and that was it. That's all she wrote." And he goes, "Well, Billy Sheehan, do you know who that is?" And I go, Swear to God, I mean, not a clue. I wasn't in the world, you know. I go, Yankee Rose video? Is that guy from, you know, him and I barely even knew Steve Vai was, but I mean, I knew who David Lee Roth was. So he goes, yeah, well, he's not in David Lee Roth anymore, and he's looking to start a band. I played in some of your music. I wrote a song with Neil Sean in a movie called Teachers, and it was called I Can't Stop the Fire. And it was rock and soul, but it was definitely kind of metal, but my only kind of metal song. So he listened to it, or Mike said, yeah, Billy listens to it and he really wants to talk to you. And Mike was notorious for doing that party line thing. And he goes, yeah, he's on the other line. I'm like, curses, like, you know, how's my hair? So yeah, we talked, and I said, so who else do you have in the band? I mean, who else do you get some players? And he goes, nope, just us. That's it. It's just you and me, man. So I wrote a couple songs, and he had a couple songs, and we hoofed it around LA looking for a record deal. And I think he was trying to get his old connections with Ted Templeman, Van Halen and all that stuff. And I don't know what happened. I got, well, the music wasn't that great. It was okay. And he said, yeah, I don't hear it. And I got another band in mind that I'm pushing called Bullet Boys. And we're like, good luck. And I mean, they did pretty good. And then we auditioned. Well, no, he told me about Paul Gilbert. And again, I didn't know who Paul Gilbert was either. Mike showed me this magazine called Guitar Player for the Practicing Musician. And he said, look, he goes, go buy it at the local newsstand. And he goes, look on the back page. And it was a page, and it was Paul Gilbert sitting at a kitchen table with a robe on, looking at a Wheaties box of him playing guitar, and he's eating cereal. And I thought, man, this guy's got a good sense of humor. I could work with that. You know, I'm looking at all these shredders, and I'm not used to the shredding vibe. I mean, I was going towards, I mean, I can sing hard rock and R&B and all that, but I was leaning more towards Hall and Oates, you know, and sorry, you rock kids at home, and Paul Young, and
I love Paul.
I mean, yeah, I love him too. And I had publishing people who were saying, we're going to turn you into the next Michael Bolton. And ironically, I was writing songs with Michael Bolton at that time too. Yeah. Michael Bolton, yeah, great. You know, he did When a Man Loves a Woman, and people pigeonholed him to be a little smarmy and stuff. He was a rocker before he was an R&B guy anyway. So Billy told me about Paul and said, I judged this guy in a guitar contest. I don't know if it was for Guitar Center or not, but he goes, and I've seen this tall ass kid coming to my shows when I was in a band called Talus. And I'm like, again, I'm sorry. I mean, I know who they are now, of course, 35 years, High Speed on Ice and Shy Boy, and, you know.
Seesaw, my favorite.
Yeah, I mean, all the,
yeah, right.
Yeah, sink your teeth into that. All the Racer X stuff. I mean, I even said to Paul the other day, man, I heard him play some Racer X riff in one of his solos the other day on stage. I'm like, is that Scarified? And he goes, how do you know that? You know? And I go, I don't know. And I go, Motorman? You know, so anyway, he said, Paul Gilbert's coming in, and we're going to have a little rehearsal. And first of all, Bill, I was playing piano a lot in the Eric Martin band and my solo career and stuff. So I wrote a lot of songs on piano and acoustic guitar, but I was mainly doing it on piano. And this is before we even had the name Mr. Big. I wrote a song called Big Love and another one called Rock and Roll Over on piano. And I had a little piano in a rehearsal room called the Alley in North Hollywood. And Billy had his wall of, you know, Starship Sheehan, gigantic amps and stuff going on. And I mean, I was like, oh man, what am I getting myself into? And then Paul came in, and I remember he brought in these gigantic speaker cabinets, and they were like day glow green and orange, and he was super skinny. And I don't know if he had fringe on his guitar, but he definitely had painted on F holes. And I thought, oh, the guy's got a good sense of humor. And then he like, yeah, and it scared the living dickens out of me. And then, but those guys like instantly clicked, as far as force to be reckoned with. You know what I mean? Like that people out there that know who Billy and Paul are and how they interact with each other, especially like even when Billy used to do it with Steve Vai. They just the connection was solid right off the bat. Like in the first couple of hours, it was pretty uncanny. So, and then Pat Torpey came in the next day. We auditioned a drummer. There was a friend of Paul's, and and I remember his name too. I barely remember my own lyrics, but his name was Bobby Orechica, and such a sweet guy. And he played great, but there was, I mean, I don't remember if he sang or not, and that was kind of a prerequisite.
Okay.
Uh-oh, they're doing sound check, or not sound check, but like warming up the PA.
Gotcha.
Is it? Do you have music on in here? Can you turn it down? I'm sorry, I'm just doing an interview, and I'm sorry. I know you need music. I'll sing for you if you want. All right.
Sing for my dinner.
I'll sing for my dinner. Yeah. So thank you just for creepy. All right. So where am I at in the conversation?
So you brought Pat in after the
so Bobby Rechka, he didn't make it. We needed somebody to sing, and that was a prerequisite for me. I mean, I wanted that. That's what I really wanted that was my vision in the band, that I wanted to have. Me and Billy were discussing stuff, that rock and soul kind of music that he wanted to get into, and I was already kind of into it. Humble Pie and Bad Company, Free, that kind of stuff. But with chock full of harmonies. I mean, I was managed by Herbie Herbert at the time as a solo artist, and he managed Journey. So, some influence must have, I went like, oh man, live, it's incredible. So I wanted to have that same kind of sound. So Pat came in, instantly floored us. He like, there's a book out there called Led Zeppelin Complete. It's about that thick. It's like a Led Zeppelin Bible. And he knew every song in it. And and Billy and Paul too. I mean, I was kind of standing back on what do I do? I don't know some of these lyrics. I wasn't like really big on the cover scene. And I mean, I could sing Led Zeppelin in the shower, but like, maybe Black Dog. I know that one. Or rock and roll. And anyway, they covered it great. And then Pat started singing, and his voice sounded like Paul McCartney, and that was it. It was a band. It was a telepathic kind of thing. I don't even remember even saying you're in the band, because I was barely in the band. You know what I mean? I mean, it was just, I don't know about love at first sight. That took a while, right? But we knew we had something.
I think the only time I met you, I actually told you this story. I can't recall though, but I grew up in Buffalo, so I'm really familiar with Talus, and I recorded my demo tape, my first professional one, to get a job in the radio in the late '80s with Dave Constantino.
Oh yeah, of course.
Oh yeah, and
I love it.
And if you ever get a chance, ask Billy about seeing Faith No More at a club in Buffalo one night. You can ask him about that.
Do you know anything about? I will ask him about that, but do you know anything about? U2?
Yes.
Open to Talus.
Was it
Buffalo?
Aerosmith, I know, played with as they changed their name one night and played with Talus.
Well, they might have done that too, but I remember like he was telling me about U2, and this is during the day, like walk away, I will follow. And they were getting a lot of attention in Rolling Stone magazine and all that stuff. And then they're opening to Talus because look, I remember on one of my famous honeymoons, been married a couple of times. I was in the Caribbean, St. Thomas or something like that. And I'm sitting at a table, you sit with strangers, basically. You get to know them. after week, and the whole table's from Buffalo, and they're all telling me like, "Oh, we seen Billy Sheehan at Uncle Sam's,
Yeah, Uncle
wherever
Sam.
that is, you know."
Yeah.
And only like a week or a couple days before, Billy Sheehan and Paul Gilbert came to my wedding. When I was married to 1,000 years ago, but I remember that too. Billy came. He had like red hair,
Oh yeah,
like,
yeah.
he had a kind of reddish brown hair, and he wore leather pants and like a tuxedo coat and a shirt, tie and stuff. Like, he looked cool. And then Paul, he looked like he put his clothes, shoved him in a suitcase, and then put them back on. And they looked like striped Shell gas station shirt. And it was silly.
Yeah, speaking of U2, I think if I'm not mistaken, they were in Buffalo when John Lennon was killed. And that's when they discovered that John Lennon had died. They were doing a show in Buffalo. Yeah, so a long time ago. But anyways,
no. I remember exactly where I was too. I was in a rehearsal studio with my Eric Martin band, and we're sitting there, with a newspaper, and just kind of like, oh my God, I guess rehearsals canceled today because of poor John Lennon. Yeah, terrible times.
Yeah, so we just talked about how Mr. Big started. The Big Finish is going to be here in Detroit tomorrow at District 142, a great new club just outside of Detroit. So the new record is coming out 10. Now, obviously, the first song, Good Luck Trying, is out. And it's funny because I think, I'm trying to remember, Paul described it as this. It's a raw, unadulterated riff rock with blues and all the Mr. Big trimmings. And I'm thinking to myself,
that's me, bro.
Oh, that was you.
You better do that again.
That's right.
Do that again. Do that again. I need that. That is mine.
That's your quote. That is correct. Yeah, that is correct. But that's the perfect summation of that song. And you just put it in one sentence. I'm like, that is the perfect, encapsulation of that song right there.
There's a lot going on in that song. I think Nick Virgilio is the big star in that tune. I mean, he's Keith Moon and Mitch Mitchell. And I was doing this YouTube channel thing yesterday with at Sweetwater Music in Indiana with Nick. And Nick was like, I've never been in the studio before where usually a band goes, hey, dumb it down a little bit, just, play kind of straight in the verse. That wasn't the case at all with Billy and Paul. They were like, do anything you want, play anything, kitchen sink, throw it out, throw it in.
Those guys can adjust probably to any musician, correct? I mean,
yeah, but I definitely had to do demos because, and no offense to them, granted, I used to say this all the time, like guitar players, they see a hole and they're like, jump in it, but I had to do the demos because, I didn't want them to step on me in places. This is the first time ever in Mr. Big's career that I wasn't there. I did the demos. I wrote the songs and demos with Paul. He played bass, guitar, drums, sang background harmonies with me. And we mapped it out perfectly. And he was basically the musical director. I had to go to Japan for some corporate solo shows. And they were on Instagram and they took a picture and they were so happy. And I'm thinking, maybe because I wasn't there. I don't know. Man, telling them, do that. I want to hear this. No, you're stepping up. No, So everybody played great on the record. On that thing, I mean, me and Paul, we decided to. When I first started writing with Paul, I kind of went, hey, it'd be nice to have an Addicted at Rush. It'd be nice to have a Daddy Brother in there. And he goes, no, let's not do that. Let's start from scratch. Let's not copycat. I basically, don't copy the things that we've done before. And I go, but people are looking to hear that familiar stuff. And he goes, well, they have other records to listen to. Anyway, look, I'm not, I was like, I don't know. What do people think? Good Luck Trying. There's kind of have you heard the record?
I haven't heard the record. I've heard that song.
Okay. Good Luck Trying. There's another one kind of like a kind of a fast boogie rocker on it called
I got the song list here. I Am You,
Yeah.
Right Out of Here.
I am. What is it?
Who-
What were you thinking?
Oh, yeah,
What were you thinking?
track 7.
What were you thinking? Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like a really fast boogie rock song, and like I Am You is almost kind of, it's me trying to get my pop sense in there all the time. I don't know how I snuck it in. Kind of my Foo Fighter moment. Who Are You? Oh no, Who We Are is a song that me and Paul first sat down and wrote together. It's a ballad, but it's got this, what a beautiful sort of Robin Trower, Jimi Hendrix thing. What else is under The Frame is an acoustic song, which I didn't have a title for it in the beginning. It was a really introspective, dark kind of tune about having a family and not having a family anymore. Kind of dark. I don't want to even tell you anything more about it.
And you decided to end the record like that?
It was, I didn't have a title for it, so I call it To Be With You Dark.
Okay.
Yeah. It was one of those things where when I played it for Paul, he was like, are you sure you want to put this out there, man? I'm like, you're basically telling a little too much of your story here, a little too much information. I'm like, if I put it on a solo album, nobody'd hear it. I go, I want people to hear it. I want to show that other side of me. Anyway, The Frame. Yeah, there's a song that Paul and I wrote called name another title, bro.
Up on You, Courageous. What Were You Thinking? I think Sunday Morning Kind of Girl.
And no, that's not it.
Right Out of Here, I Am You.
Right Out of Here is kind of an Aerosmith thing. What's the other one up there? The last one.
Well, the last one is the instrumental for the Japanese bonus.
No, not the last one, but like the one you didn't say.
Oh, I'm sorry. See, I Am You, Right Out of Here, Sunday Morning Kind of Girl, Who Are We, or Who We Are, As Good as It Gets.
That's it.
Yeah.
As Good as It Gets. It's like, it's kind of almost Supertramp kind of sounding. Or Boston. It's got a little something going on there.
Now, yeah, I was gonna say, like, so one of my friends, Jay Rustin, who ironically enough, I've never met before in my life. And I texted him earlier and I'm like, hey, tell me something about this record. He hasn't gotten back to me yet, but I've never met him, but I've known him for years. And so why'd you decide to go with Jay to produce this record?
Well, I knew he produced the Winery Dogs.
Okay.
And so Billy already knew him, and that's a good thing. He mixed one of our live albums it was just Live in Milan. And I didn't know him either, bro. I didn't know him at all. I just talked to him on the phone. But I like what he did for the last Winery Dogs album. There was a song called Mad World. And I thought, even though Winery Dogs, that record is slick, it's selfish, but I like where the vocal was.
Yeah.
I really like the way he had Richie. And I thought, yeah, I mean, I've worked with some great producers, but I like the way he had Richie, and I like the way so long time ago, 2009, we worked with this guy Kevin Shirley, and he was a cool dude, caveman. And we wanted to have this raw live sound, very stripped down, and it was almost it was supposed to be turned out just like I just said, but it had so much instrumentation on it, just had so much stuff and too many bells and whistles that it lost something. It was a really good record, great songs on that record. What If? But I wanted to do the same thing on this record, and we achieved it. Except I kept saying, yeah, but I want a little reverb because I am the reverb king in my headphones. Even when I play live, I'm like, I tell the sound engineer, he has no clue what I'm talking about. I go, I want a Budokan live in my head. And he's like, okay, all right, Eric. Yeah. But he didn't do that at all. It was like, it's a very dry, no effects record. Yeah. So anyway, I like the live feel of it. good raw sound to it, unadulterated. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I know what you're saying because you
Riff
said it,
rock.
I screwed it up, right? But that's exactly what the first single sounds like for sure. But hey, I got a few minutes left here, so I want to ask you a couple questions from some of your friends. So let's see. Jason Hartless wanted me to ask you about your
One of my friends, and also a great drummer and a band brother. We went on the road together with opening to Michael Schenker. Go ahead.
Yeah, he's Ted Nugent's drummer, in case people don't know, and he's from Detroit here. And that's how I know Jay Rustin, by the way, because he grew up just over the border in Canada. And we have mutual friends and the whole thing. But Jason wanted me to ask you about your career singing Jingles.
Yeah. Singers got to eat, you know. Didn't sell that many records early in my career before Mr. Big. So I did like Corn Nuts and Mattel toys, Tonka trucks, hamburger commercials. I remember this one time I was in Portland, and we were pushing To Be With You. And I was like, we just listened to Be With You. And I go, hi, man, I'm so happy for your success. We go, we're gonna take a commercial, and a commercial came on. It was like, a corn nut is a kernel with a crazy crunch. Woo-hoo! I was like, oops, kind of embarrassing. But hey, at the time, To Be With You just came out, and I wasn't making any money off of it, and I made more money on the corn nuts commercial. So it's all good.
There you go. Your friend PJ, he wanted to know.
Here's another one, my friend PJ. So PJ Farley, bass player for Trickster, Fozzy, Eric Martin. Yeah, good old PJ Farley. What did he want?
He wanted me to ask you if you've ever been caught in an elevator.
Like 4 or 5 times.
Oh,
and like that was last year.
No kidding.
Yeah, I played at the Sony Theater in New York with me and PJ opening to Jeff Tate, and he took one elevator and he went up, and I took another elevator and I went down, and it was like the scary part of like under New York, where you could only imagine. It was like people and spiders and really creepy. I was stuck down there for about 25 minutes, and then like airports. Or like when you're in a hotel and you're walking up to this elevator and you think that that's part of the hotel, but it's really not, because it has the padded walls kind of thing, so the waiters don't bang into their, and I'm like, this is different. And 30 minutes in those things too, my friend. Yep.
Yeah, I've never gotten stuck in an elevator. I can say that. So
I'm unlucky.
Yeah, right.
And I'm unlucky in love and elevators. Just saying, I don't get it.
And getting some great bandmates too. I mean, you guys have been together for all these years, and this is it, eh?
This is it. Well, this is it for touring. I'd like to keep the door open if we're going to play a festival, or like maybe 3 or 4 shows a year, even, but no more lengthy touring. I mean, I don't. We've been on this road trip for about a year, and this is the second tour in the U.S. We went to Europe, South America, Asia, all over Asia. I mean, like, not people just think, oh, Japan. No, China, Japan, Indonesia, Thailand, Philippines, everywhere. And now we're going to take a break after Detroit, Buffalo. Those are the last couple of gigs, and we're going to take a little break. Not me. I got to go do some record project for the Japanese. Good. I'm working a lot, and I have a lot of things going on, but and it's good to, believe it. I know I sound like kind of sore right now, but this keeps my chops up, and I got more chops than a butcher shop. I'm telling you. So we're going to take a break and then go back to Europe, and then call it like after August 23rd. I think that's it.
Yeah, August 23rd. Yeah, I saw that on your schedule here. So, well, let's.
So Bulgaria, all our friends in Bulgaria. So it'll be Buffalo in the U.S. and Bulgaria in Europe.
Yeah, I saw the stories, about, of course, Billy's final gig with Mr. Big in Buffalo and stuff. And did you ever see Talis play, by the way?
No, but I've heard all the records and I've seen the videos, and Phil Nero, Phil, right? And
Yeah.
Dave Constantine. Yeah. Great players. I met some of these guys over the years, I know one passed, but Mitch Perry. There was a guy named Mitch Perry. He played with Talus for a minute. And Billy's he's selling his new, or I don't know how long old it is, like a couple years old, but he's selling the Talus album at the shows too.
Yeah, the latest one.
The one with can he get in trouble? Is he going to get in trouble? Have the DeLorean on it?
Yeah, with the car on it, right? That's a record.
Yeah, it's cool looking. But yeah, I haven't heard some of the music on it. Just a few select tracks.
Well, for those out there that don't know, so when you asked Billy about Faith No More, I was talking to him one time at a club, and Faith No More had showed up unannounced. They went up on stage, and I was talking to Billy, and an assistant or someone came over and said he's got his pants down. That was the last I talked to Billy that night. He was talking about Mike Patton from Faith No More, and you guys can look that up. So
yeah, he's good like that. I've been to a couple clubs over the years with Billy Sheehan, and yeah, he's still young at heart.
Yeah, well, he was fine that night. Mike Patton from Faith No More was a little bit out of control. Actually, the whole band was. But well, listen, dude, thank you so much for your time. Safe travels and good luck with 10, which drops later on this summer. What's the exact date on that?
I think it's July 12th.
July. Yeah. Okay.
Something like that. Yeah. So yeah, I'm in Cincinnati right now at the famous Ludlow Garage, and we're winding down our United States tour. And it's kind of bittersweet because we're so tight, and I really part of me is like going, oh, why are we doing this? Why are we giving up? But it just, the train stops.
Yeah, there comes a time
very
for
soon.
sure. Yeah, no doubt. Well, Eric, thanks, man. Maybe I'll see you tomorrow. Maybe you can sign this bad boy for me.
Yeah. Bono Jr.